Welcome back to Triple B, where we are Black, Beautiful, and Brave. I'm Candy.
Namayana, and we're excited to share with you the topics that we are interested in as Black, beautiful Christian single women.
That's right. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
share this podcast with a friend or anyone that you know that may find these topics interesting. Now, for our Spotify viewers, definitely like us or like the podcast or rate it.
Give some
Definitely.
feedback. Yep, tell
Yeah,
us your thoughts.
definitely. If you want to know where to find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify at
Mm,
Black, Beautiful, and Brave Podcast. Search
Yes,
us on those platforms and you should be able to find us. Yeah.
yes, you will.
And as you can see today, we are continuing on a conversation that was started last week. We just
Mhm.
scratch the surface of this particular
Yeah.
topic that you see down below on toxic positivity. And
Mhm,
we didn't get a chance to apply it necessarily fully
mhm,
in the context of Christianity or in church,
mhm. Relationship.
especially
Mhm,
or relationship. So
mhm.
we have our guest from last week who is gracious to come right back and continue this conversation. So welcome to the stage, Marjorie.
Hello.
Hey, welcome
I'm
back.
back.
Welcome back.
Okay, she's back. And for those who don't know, Marjorie is my sister.
Indeed.
Right.
And yeah, and she's here to join us in this conversation. We've had these kind of conversation between the two of us, and she has helped me to understand a lot about toxic positivity and so forth. And so we
Mhm.
asked Marjorie to come back and to join us in this very important conversation. Thank you,
Yes.
Marjorie.
Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely. Thank you for
you.
having me.
So let's do a quick review on
Mhm.
what we talked about last week so that we can continue the
Mhm,
conversation.
mhm.
Toxic positivity. What is it? What is the difference between toxic positivity and reframing? Who wants to give us the a review?
I
Ayana.
can do that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Marjorie,
Margaret.
go
For
ahead.
sure. Yes, she's the health professional. I'm just
Well,
a layperson.
public health professional. I'm in
Public
the
Public
field
health
of
health.
public health.
professional. Public health.
So just to reiterate, like I did in the last podcast, I am not
Mhm.
a mental health professional. The views
Mhm.
and opinion that I am sharing is solely reflective of the thing that I have done to help myself emotionally. So please don't nobody say, well, they had this mental health specialist. I'm a health professional, but however, these are tools that I have learned in order to help myself, in
Mhm.
order to better manage my emotions. So in regards to toxic positivity, in the last podcast or the last episode, we talked about the definition of what toxic positivity is. And essentially, to summarize it, it's basically avoiding negative emotions and putting
Mhm.
on a mask of this positivity, right? So
Mhm.
it's never allowing yourself to really figure out, work through, deal with the cause and the actual feeling of negative emotions. It's simply consistently putting it under the rug, sweeping it under the rug, and basically allowing it to grow until it gets to a point where this pile of negative emotion topples over.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
trying to avoid that practice. Candy was giving the example in regards to like reframing, where reframing allows you to look at the negative, kind of like figure out the lesson from it, change it instead of viewing that situation negatively. You then try to reframe it in a positive way in order to help you move forward, which is a healthy way to deal with negative emotions. So we're not talking about reframing where you are dealing with that negative emotion and trying to work through it in order to move forward. Toxic positivity is literally suppressing it, not dealing with it, and just kind of putting on this mask when ultimately it's eating away at you from the inside.
Mm.
very
Wow.
okay. Very
Mhm.
good. Now let's okay. I have a whole bunch of questions. You mentioned when you gave your disclaimer that,
Mm.
you're not a mental health professional, but you have this information based on the work that you've done for yourself,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, what did that look like as far as regulating or not regulating your emotions? What did that look like? Um, allowing toxic positivity to influence how you feel about either yourself, your situation, and so forth. What did that
Uh,
what did that look like?
Absolutely. So I think Candy would know this very well in regards to my personality. Sometimes when I get upset, I have a habit or had a habit, still working through it, of like when I am frustrated, upset, I kind of shut down, right?
Mm.
I shut down, whether it's like a person that I'm dealing with or there's a situation and those closest to me can visibly see that like I'm shut down, I'm avoidant, almost like silent treatment as well. And those around me, of course, because they care about me, it's kind of like, Margie, what's wrong? Like, what's the
Yeah.
problem? What's the issue? And not really me, not really having the tools to work through it. And with others who are kind of like, okay, Margie, like, let's just try to work through this or what have you. It's kind of like, well, or let's like move on from it. It's kind of like, what, I need to deal with the emotion. Like, it takes me more time to deal with whatever negative emotion I was dealing with because I didn't know how to. So it kind of just felt like people were telling me, suppress the emotion and just kind of move on from it, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
I'll just give a quick example, which was something recent where I was able, at the time, I had the language of toxic positivity. I had an issue with my car. And basically, I waited too long, unintentionally, but I waited too long to get my brakes repaired or
Mhm.
replaced. So, I go to the place and they're like, okay, well, because you've waited so long, it has caused additional damage to your car.
Right.
And it's essentially going to cost you more money. And of course, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't know this circumstances and it's costing me X amount of money, like thousands of dollars. And when I left the car and I immediately called Candy, she's the big sister. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is the situation. And now I have to pay X amount of money. I mean, thank God I got the money, but who's trying to spend this much money on a car? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And Candy trying to
Oh,
help
wait a
me,
minute. I didn't know you were using me as an example.
I mean, no, but
She's just talking about the story, Candy.
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
come on, Candy, let the Lord use you. Let the Lord use you.
go ahead. Go ahead.
And Candy trying to help me in this moment of frustration, right? She's just like, well, Marjorie, God knows, God knows,
Mm.
and it's okay, and I'm just like, that doesn't help me. That is not helping me, saying that God knows and God is gonna. What you mean? If the God knew, then why didn't he, put me in a position to have the car fixed before it got this worse? Because I didn't know, and it was just causing even more frustration for me. And what it felt like, with Candy saying that to help me, what it felt like on my end is just kind of like, hey, your negative feeling that you have about this doesn't necessarily matter. Just move
Mm.
forward and be positive about the situation. So
Mm.
in that moment, I was like, Candy, this isn't helping me, and I feel like, you're doing like, this is toxic positivity, or whatever. Like, you want me to be positive about the situation, and there's no reason for me to be positive about it. Like, there's absolutely, the only thing is that my car is going to be fixed, right?
Mm.
And in that moment, Candy took the time to reflect, and she said, well, Margie, maybe God is trying to teach you to be better about taking care of your car. And then I was just like, now that helps me. That helps me. Okay, like I still feel like upset, or I still feel a type of way about having to shell out this money for something that went wrong with my car that I wasn't necessarily aware of initially, but and then ended up causing more issues. But I can receive the lesson of, hey, maybe this is God letting you see, like, you need to be all the more intentional about taking care of something that you find valuable. So moving forward, when you see something, maybe don't put it off as long so that you end up having the same or maybe even a worse event. So granted, and even for me, even with that example, I was in a position to be able to receive that, I don't know, constructive criticism from Candy, which made me feel better. So it wasn't just like, okay, be happy, it's all right. It's kind of like, no, let's learn the lesson from this and let's use that lesson to move forward to be better.
It's a good example. Candy, you a good big sister.
I tried. Listen, it's not easy. It's not
It's
easy.
not easy.
And with that example, I do want to give a quote from a book, a book that kind of did touch on aspects of toxic positivity. And it says, denying negative emotions lead to deeper and more prolonged negative emotions, and eventually to emotional dysfunction. So for me, the way I was always dealing with my negative emotions in the past, I kind of feel like essentially that's what was happening. It was just leading to more deeper, prolonged negative emotion. But the thing is, we have to allow ourselves to be able to deal with our negative emotion. Like, maybe at the immediate time, we may not be able to deal with it, but as soon as possible, learn how to at least face the negative emotion and try to figure out how to maneuver through it. Oh, and also the book, it's not a Christian book, but it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F by Mark Manson. So, I'm not going to say what the F, but y'all know what the F is.
Okay.
So really it's focusing on, hey, I see this negative emotion, I'm feeling it. And just because I may not know how to deal with it in the moment, I'm not going to try to avoid it.
I feel though that like that journey of being able to acknowledge those emotions feels like it's a lifetime journey though.
Absolutely.
Especially since
Mhm.
especially since we come from cultures and backgrounds where we are not taught necessarily to express those emotions. More
Absolutely.
so, as we mentioned in the episode before, as women, we have some tools and we have some support systems that have been in place, put in place for us by the women in our lives. But especially even for the males, I think about like, just being able to again address those emotions head on. And I can even say as a female, even though I have friends and family who I can relate to, still sometimes we still don't address those emotions effectively should. So imagine if as females we struggle, then imagine what it is for males who are taught the complete opposite, that real men don't cry, and deal with those things. You just kind of push through.
Exactly. And sometimes pushing through can look like on the outside you're working through it, when in actuality you're not working through it, you're just allowing things to pile up in the background. And not only just for men, but also sometimes your position in the family, right? So like in our family, I'm the youngest. And like Candy mentioned, we're 8 years apart. We have a brother in between us who is 6 years older than me. So Candy and our brother, they're closer in age. And I'm just a little bit, a little ways off. And I kind of feel like with being the youngest and having older siblings who are a little bit significantly older than you, sometimes they probably had the opportunity where they were able to figure out how to deal and work through their negative emotion. And in being the youngest, maybe I'm going through something which probably in essence isn't that significant. It's like, why are you upset about that? And others telling you, well, you shouldn't be upset about that. But still, my little emotions at that young age, like, this is big for me, and being taught to basically suppress it instead of like working through it.
So do you feel like
carrying that habit as I grow?
Okay, go ahead, Candy.
Or learning how to validate a child's emotion,
Mhm.
validate someone's emotion versus, girl, you're not angry, girl, calm down. Why you got? If I'll give you something to
Or like
cry
you don't need to be
about.
That's
angry
right.
about
That's what you
that.
do.
You don't need to be
You're
upset
not
about
getting.
that.
You're not getting to calm down. You're like, what? You upset? You can't be upset. You can't
Right,
be
right.
Yeah,
I'm
like
gonna
those
give you
kind of
something.
words, like you can't be upset. You
Mm.
shouldn't be upset about this. You know,
Mm.
you should just be happy. Like I
Mm.
remember when my family we moved from one
Mhm.
city from South Florida to North Florida, and it was just a big cultural shock for me, and I was just having a really tough time. And essentially, I just wasn't happy. And I
Mhm.
just remember my mom saying, Margie, you just need to be happy. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? How am I
Just
supposed to
turn it on.
just be happy?
Yeah,
You know,
but children be tripping though. There's not. There's
no,
sometimes they just.
but but that's the thing though. Although on the outside, it very well could be this really is something that shouldn't have this much of an impact on your emotion. That person is still dealing with that emotion.
Okay,
And we
fair enough.
need to help people or support people in figuring out how to work through the emotion instead of just putting it to the side. Because
Okay.
I can look at it from the outside like, now listen, this ain't really that serious. But for the person who's dealing with it, it
It
is.
is. And
It
perception
is
is
that
reality.
serious.
That's it. That's
Exactly.
perception. That's serious.
Especially when you
Okay.
have the comparison of an adult with a child. You know,
Yes.
an adult, they have a certain level of emotional intelligence,
Mm.
emotional tools, but that child is still working through it. And it's through those experiences that they gain emotional intelligence and emotional tools. So when they do become adults, they can work through those things. And sometimes after they've come to the other side, they too can look back and be like, yeah, I was tripping. It wasn't that serious. You know, like even with the situation, the example that I gave with Candy, after she was
She's
able
calling your name
to,
again, Candy.
but after she, you know, reassessed and was like, okay, Marjorie, well, maybe this is just God showing you need to do better with managing. I was able to receive it. And then it was kind of like, okay, you know, I have my moment, but, you know, I can receive that and I can do better. I can do better moving forward.
And are we saying that, because in the title it also says why the church isn't a safe place? Are we saying that it's because people in the church, or we are the church, right? We
Yeah.
don't all have the tools to help individuals go through or validate their emotions, right? Or don't have the tools to learn to just listen. They just fire us from our volunteer work,
Oh,
right?
mercy.
Okay.
You
All
know,
right. Throw
I'm
that
just
in
saying,
there. All
you
right.
know,
All right.
sometimes we don't have those tools. And because we've made the church, the people don't have those tools, we're doing more harm to people than helping them, our brother and sister who might be going through some type of crisis, because we are supposed to carry our brother's burden and, you know, and so forth. But having the proper tools, what would that look like, right?
In the church.
In the
Yeah, because
church,
I want to know what
right?
that would look like too, because the Bible talks about if you have a ought with your brother, you go to them, brother or sister, you go to them, and if they can't hear you, then I think you take
An elder.
an elder, right? So there are some things the Bible advocates. So when we do that, is it that when we're approaching this situation, are you approaching with your perception is reality scenario, or are you approaching that someone who you believe did you something with a genuine situation? Because it seems it's genuine to you, right? This happened to you. This is how you're feeling. What's the approach if you're the one who's been hurt, or what's the approach if you're the one who's there to assist in some way? Like what does that look like?
I think that the church is, I guess, this is a presumption that we are all operating from the same moral compass.
Mm,
And these are expectations
mm-hmm,
of a Christian lifestyle.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so therefore, we all put on a facade that
mm-hmm.
we are on this Christian journey
Mhm.
already arrived
Mm.
versus in transition.
Mm.
And when someone who's in transition in that journey, and if they are to share their challenges, it may not be received in a way that one can validate how they're feeling, what they're going through, and a safe space where it stays between brother and sister or between,
Could we
members.
give like more of an example? Because as you're
Yeah,
speaking of like scenarios, I feel like there's just so many different type of examples that could fit in that.
of
So like
course.
maybe we can give something a little bit more concrete.
Mhm.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm. So I'm just thinking about if you are a Christian, right? You struggling with let's say you're struggling with when somebody asks you, how was your week? Right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh man, my week was awful because I'm in a relationship with someone, found out that they were cheating on me,
Mm,
and also they took my money, they
mercy.
they stole my money. All of that is happening. And
Mhm.
now I am in church
Mhm.
having to deal with this disappointment in a
Mhm.
relationship, having to deal with just someone feeling that you've been betrayed, right? Will you share that with someone who says, how you doing? Happy to see you here. How was your week? Because you don't want to share that information because then
You talking
it's
about
like,
me? You talking about me, Marjorie?
no, I'm just saying people
Okay,
Yeah.
in
okay.
But
general.
hypothetical.
Hypothetical, we will
I
not
mean,
share
so
we may not share because like you said earlier, I think it was in the episode before, or I can't remember if it was this episode where we were
Mhm.
talking about everybody just says, hey, how are you doing? How you doing? How was your week?
One before.
Really not looking for a response,
mhm,
right? So you just
mhm.
say, oh, it's good. God bless.
Mm.
Oh, I'm highly favored. Thank you, Lord.
Okay, I hear you.
But
So
then if
let's say with the example you just gave. So like last week, with me saying in regards to managing, being authentic in those situations, how I personally may not necessarily ask everybody how they're doing. But let's say I'm in a situation, I say happy Sabbath to someone, right? And let's say just so happened somehow how you doing came out to a person that I don't necessarily genuinely want to know how they're doing. And they give me this response that you gave. The example of a relationship just ended. He done took my money.
yeah,
XYZ, XYZ. And they're essentially just pouring out their heart.
correct.
I think one of the tools that we as people and as Christians should have is the art of listening, right?
Mm,
Because clearly this person has just gone through something really tough and their heart, their mind, everything is just kind of like, unsettled. So just listening and allow them to like share. And then afterwards, saying, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm
mhm.
so sorry. Because that person probably needs to feel like somebody cares,
Yeah.
you know? And granted, this may not necessarily be a person that I engage with normally. But I think as Christian, we care for the general well-being of all people. So I wouldn't feel like I'm so sorry this happened to you would be an unauthentic statement coming. I
Mm,
am sorry because child, if it happened to me, I probably wouldn't,
right.
would be unsettled as well. And then from there, just kind of, if you, I would say sometimes what people would end those kind of scenarios with is, I'll be keeping you in prayer. I'll be
That's
praying
right.
for you.
That's right.
And something that I have learned to do is not to necessarily say that statement, but in that moment, can I pray for you?
Exactly.
Like right now, right
Mhm.
here, right now. And
Exactly.
I've done that, and people have been like, oh, okay, yeah, let's pray right now. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not leaving them or leaving the situation with almost like a cliffhanger emotion where it's kind of like, okay, I just poured out my heart to Marjorie. She says she feels like, she's so sorry that it happened to me. And I'm just I'm still feeling uneasy. So now the next person who tells me happy Sabbath, they are essentially verbalizing the same thing again, looking for this feeling of like help, satisfaction. So praying with them in the very moment, and hopefully it helps them in that moment to feel some level of comfort.
Yeah.
Also providing a safe space. I think that sometimes in listening, just know that you're listening, not to go and share with other people.
This is
Mm,
100%. This is
And I think
100%
that's what a lot
accurate.
of people fear is happening because they hear about other people's stuff, right?
yeah.
They're like, oh
Yeah.
no, I know how you talk about gossip, right?
Yeah.
It happens in the church, and then you hear. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen this before, but they do videos about you having a problem, and all of a sudden you hear a prayer request about your problem. You're like, oh, somebody pray for this person because
And
they
call you by name too.
I ain't putting no prayer requests. Like, what?
exactly not for you to on the mic during prayer to talk, and so I think that's the fear that
Yeah.
many people have and why they may not open up to those who they may attend church with because of the fear of they don't think that the person is being authentic,
Yeah.
that it's in a safe space and that they aren't being judged because
Mhm,
we're
mhm.
all supposed to be Christians. We all supposed to have arrived, but I haven't arrived yet and I am still struggling and I have these issues, right? And so I just wanted to, can I share it in church? Can I
Yeah.
share my problems? The
And I
fact that not being able to see enough transparency in church sometimes cause us not to share in church.
And I feel like some of the steps Marjorie outlined, I feel like that's something that you need to be trained, that it does not come naturally, even as a Christian, because I get the piece where you listen. So, and again, listening is still an art. Me,
Mhm.
I'm a consummate talker. I am a horrible listener. I've learned over the years, right? But even then, someone will be telling me a story, and I'm like, what was that part again? And they're like, yeah, I just said blah blah blah. I'm like, okay. But and then the piece where you say, I'm sorry that happened to you. Again, that's not something that I think that I would naturally say to someone after they've told me their situation either. I think that's something I'm learning now. I've learned over the years. And again, so there's some things that, I mean, right now, that based on your experience and how you understand toxic positivity. But for most people, that step-by-step process, and even at the end, instead of saying, because I can see where someone listens and then from listening, jump straight into, well, I'll pray for you, right? So they miss out that step with the, I'm sorry this happened to you. And then they miss out the step with the active praying at the moment. And I think all of those elements really show people that you care genuinely about them, and that they don't feel as if you're going to take this information and then spread it elsewhere,
Mhm.
but it's not something that comes naturally to us.
Absolutely. Very true. Very true. Because as you were just saying that, I was just thinking about like my life experiences where somehow I always found myself in a situation where a person, and I mean, this is like since I was like in middle school and high school, somebody is just like pouring out, like, yeah, Margie, and da 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 that's happened. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I'm listening and thinking about what they're sharing. And I'm just like, if they were to have shared this with someone else, who's to say what this person would have done with that information? And I mean, people have shared some very like life altering scenarios with me, right? And I think the first time where I really did learn how to listen was in the eighth grade, where I was in a peer counseling class. Literally learning how to be a peer counselor to your fellow students. And I remember a huge part of the curriculum was about listening, knowing how to listen when another person is sharing, showing engagement, but then also not interrupting them. And really just helping that person to feel heard without necessarily taking on the brunt of what they're saying or the brunt of their emotions either.
Mhm.
So, like you said, a lot of people don't have it. But as Christians, I think it is imperative. It's definitely imperative for us to learn how to support people by listening. I think sometimes we want to rush to the action part, right? Oh,
Mhm.
you go, well, let me see if I can find somebody who can do X, Y, Z.
That's
And
right.
and we want to fix the problem or avoid the problem with the dismissal of the I'm gonna pray, I'm gonna keep you in prayer. I'm gonna keep you in prayer. And then you actually never pray for the person. You forget about the situation by
That's
the time
true.
you leave home for church.
It's like the
Um,
thoughts and prayers.
thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and
And
prayers.
there's no thought, there's no prayer.
There's no thought. No, yeah.
There's some thought. They thought about it
At the
when they tried
moment,
to
and then once
share.
At
the
the
blessing
No,
comes,
moment.
it's
when
the
they
thought has
share it with
already left.
someone else, when they're
Yeah.
like, "Let me tell you what happened or what's
Mhm.
going on," you
Right.
know.
And treating people just the way you want to be treated. Like I would
Mhm.
hate if I were to have poured out my heart to someone about something, really traumatic or what have you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if that person were to go around, gossiping about it, I probably would feel like I couldn't trust people, right?
Mhm.
So I think a lot of people really don't take to heart of treating others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah. We listen and we don't judge.
We listen and we don't judge and we don't gossip.
And
Like
we
that.
don't gossip. That's a
Bearing
great
false
way.
witness.
That's
Mhm.
yes, great way to bring this towards an end
Yeah.
Mhm.
of this conversation. I think this conversation is very important, especially for women, right?
Yeah.
Christian women,
Absolutely.
as we are
Um,
to be, engaged with one another, support one another, be positive
Mhm.
towards one another. And
Mhm.
you don't want to hurt your sister
mhm.
um, in her time of need,
Mhm.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Time of crisis, a time of emotional distress. Sometimes we think being blunt, being truthful, giving the facts is helping when you're probably doing more harm.
And
Mhm.
not even necessarily being blunt, but sometimes you think you're helping by trying to make the person have a positive thought about whatever it is they're going through,
Situation.
right?
Yeah.
Let's think about it positively. Well, let's just, and those things are actually dismissing the emotion the person is experiencing, when in actuality, they just need to work through it. And as we're coming to a
Mm.
close, I just want to read another quote from the book. And it states that the negative emotion is not the problem.
Mhm.
It's the expression of the emotion that's the problem. For
Mm.
example, being angry and punching a person. Anger isn't the problem, the punching is.
Mm.
And
Ooh, that goes
right.
back to the text.
So yes, it
Ephesians
goes right
4:26.
back to Ephesians 4:26. Be angry and sin not. So what I really want people to understand, because we know we're just kind of talking about other people dealing with other people's emotions, but in regards to dealing with toxic positivity, allow people to be angry. Understand it's okay for you to be angry. But then what do you do with that anger?
Mhm.
Are we just brushing it under the rug? Are we allowing that anger to fester and then we end up
Mm,
sinning? What are we doing with our anger?
Mhm.
So
mhm.
allow yourself to be angry, experience the emotion. We have to experience negative emotion. A negative emotion is a part of our growth as people. But once you experience and feel the negative emotion, what do we do with it then? How do you work through it to now come out on the other side of that situation better?
And I feel like, and I know we have to wrap up, but I feel like, especially for us in the church, we experience a lot of that anger, that negative emotion, and it manifests itself in our complaining,
Mm,
Mm,
our not having relationships with certain persons within the church,
mm-hmm.
and instead of doing something to make it better, we just keep on repeating the same stories, having the same complaints, the same venting, right? So I feel like that's something else that, and I know that's a whole different topic,
Yeah.
but like, how do we deal with that? Because, and I remember listening to one speaker saying that if you are constantly complaining about something in the church or something that the pastor is doing wrong or someone else is doing wrong, then maybe that area might be your calling. Maybe you should step in and fix it instead of only
Absolutely.
complaining. But there's a lot of complaints, a lot of issues about stuff with our pastors, stuff with our members, stuff with, so the anger. So we're being angry, but sin not. We're upset, but don't sin. So, but we just stop at the upset part.
So, with what you were saying, let me just give one more point. I know we're coming to a close. But
That
in
sound
the
like real
team
church
book,
people.
okay, all right. I don't mind how many.
With the
Y'all can go
pastor.
ahead. If I can
We're
get
not in the
5 more
pulpit. We're not in
minutes,
the pulpit.
put your hand up if I can get 5 minutes. Put your hand up if I can get 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay. I got 5, 10. I got 10 minutes that I can go ahead and keep going. Can you put up a 3? But it says that negative emotions. Oh no, I'm sorry. It says what to do with negative emotions. 1, express them in a socially acceptable and healthy manner. 2, express them in a way that aligns with your values. So when you have the negative emotion, express them in a socially and acceptable and also a healthy manner. So that sometimes some of the ways that people express their anger may be considered not socially acceptable, right?
That's right. A lot of times they
A
want
lot
to
of
curse
times.
you out, sister.
But the thing is also, is it healthy? Is it healthy? So I think give yourself those 2 checkpoints. Is it socially acceptable? And also, is it healthy? If you have the green light with both of those, express your anger in that way. And then 2, express them in that way that aligns with your values. So 1, figure out what your values are. And then allow the expression of your anger to align with your values. So if I call myself a Christian, right? And the Bible talks about not having a temper and all these things. And I express my anger in a way that does not align with my Christian values. Now, remember, we serve a Jesus who turned tables over in the synagogue when the people weren't treating it right, turning it into a marketplace, right?
Not
So-
every day. Not every day.
Hello. So the thing is, being a Christian doesn't mean when you're angry, you don't say anything and you have to, no. Make sure it aligns with your values. Make sure you're expressing it in a socially acceptable way, which means in different social settings, it will be appropriate to express it differently, and make sure it's healthy. Because I might express in a certain social setting, it might be acceptable to express myself off the hinges, but is that healthy? Does that align with my values? No. So let's make sure we are checking those things. And these are just additional tools in regards to learning how to deal with negative emotions. So then that way we are not continuing these cycles of toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Margie, you gave us a lot of tools.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Thank you
just
so
a little
much.
bit, just a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Being
'cause
bashful.
we're here to empower and to edify Black beautiful women, because we have emotions as well, and we also are our sisters' keepers,
Absolutely.
and we want to do that in the most loving way that reflects Christ's love, our Father's love for us, and allowing the Holy Spirit to use us. Because we could fight the Holy Spirit and say we're going to do it the way we want to do it, right? But we pray that each person, examine yourself,
Yes.
examine how you respond or help your fellow sisters and brothers and so forth those who you are dating, those who you're in relationship with, because we don't want to be negative. We don't want to be positive, because if you're able to master this listening, master how to help people out, even as a single woman, you become a safe place even for a man.
Or even mastering these things for yourself. So it's not always necessarily mastering, not having toxic positivity for others, but even for yourself.
Yeah, so it's personal improvement. And I also want to add, especially, and this kind of goes against the narrative of even the angry black woman scenario, when really and truly there are all these tools. And again, I'm not saying, I am personally saying that that's not something that I have encountered, this thought of this belief about what black women not being able to control their emotions. But I think that the tools that Marjorie have given us are really tremendous and will help to assist the black women who are listening, who already, I believe, are equipped with some of these tools. And we're just fine-tuning these skills to make us even better communicators and better able to address our emotions head on.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Marjorie, for coming. Maybe we can we can have you back for another topic. You just tell us what you want to talk about.
Absolutely. I'll come back to the Triple B podcast.
Yes.
Definitely. Well, we thank you, Marjorie, again for your time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
There we go again. That was a great one. Yeah.
Yes, it was some powerful stuff. And especially for us as women, to be able to address head on our emotions and feelings in different scenarios.
Absolutely. I think we have to do the work first for ourselves, right? Absolutely. And so Marjorie had this topic and we were like, yes, let's talk about it. So for those who are listening, hey, if you have something that you want to talk about, let us know. Reach out to us. Let us know about what you have been experiencing. You can find us on these different platforms, or guess what? You can always call us and leave us a message.
That's right. 678-667-3371.
That's right. Give us a call. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. So every episode that comes out, you will get notified. And those who are around you will know about it too. Help our algorithm to help other people find us as well, if you don't want to share. So help us out. So with that being said, Ayana, we are Triple B
out. Bye.
Bye.